The headlines are no longer whispers, they're war drums. Canada has broken ranks with the United States and is realigning its entire defense, trade, and geopolitical strategy toward Europe. What just happened in Brussels could mark the beginning of a completely new Western alliance, one that no longer depends on Washington. At the center of this shift is Mark Carney, the new Canadian Prime Minister, who has just made history by sealing a strategic defense and cooperation pact with the European Union, without the US in the room. Let that sink in. While Donald Trump was busy launching unsanctioned strikes on Iran and lecturing allies on loyalty, Canada and the EU were drafting the terms of a new world order, one where America may no longer be the cornerstone of global security. For the first time in decades, Canada is preparing for the possibility that the United States could become not just an unreliable partner, but a threat. And that's not speculation, it's policy. Stay with us until the end, because what you're about to hear might change how you view global power forever. We're about to give you the context you need to truly understand what's happening and how to stay one step ahead. This is News for Dummies, where we break it all down to sharpen your critical understanding of today's most urgent events. Let's start with what was signed. This wasn't just a friendly trade agreement or another diplomatic handshake. This was a comprehensive strategic partnership that gives Canada full access to the European Union's joint military procurement programs, collective defense mechanisms, digital infrastructure, and energy frameworks. The announcement came with explosive rhetoric. Carney stood beside EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and stated clearly, Canada, the most European non-European country, looks to Europe first to build a better world. Canadians, for the first time in modern history, are preparing for a scenario where the US is not a friend, but a rival. And it's not just Carney saying this. American officials themselves are pushing this narrative. Former Trump ally Pam Bondi recently placed Mexico and Canada on a list of hostile foreign actors. When a country calls you an enemy, how long can you pretend they're still an ally? Canada is no longer depending solely on the Pentagon. It is now contributing directly to Europe's SAFE Fund, a 150 billion euros pool for the joint purchase of advanced weaponry. This means Canada will begin arming itself not with American F-35 jets but with European-made Eurofighters and Rafales. The plan is to gradually phase out US-made military tech from Canadian defense systems. This alone is a tectonic shift in NATO dynamics. Why now? Because under Trump, America has become increasingly erratic, bombing Iran without consulting a single ally, demanding loyalty while refusing to guarantee mutual defense under NATO's Article 5, and embracing a surveillance state that now jails tourists for memes. This is no longer the America that led the free world. It's an empire in retreat, swinging wildly as it falls. Let's be clear, Canada is not just reacting out of fear. This is a calculated pivot. Military spending is jumping from 1.45% to 2% of GDP this year, with some officials whispering about hitting 5%. But the money won't be going to Lockheed Martin or Raytheon. It'll be spent in Europe with European partners, because Europe and Canada are preparing for a future where they may need to defend themselves not just with the US, but from it. Is this the end of NATO as we know it? Interactive question. If Canada and the EU are building a parallel security architecture, does NATO still matter? Or has Trump already broken it beyond repair? And this isn't just about fighter jets and tanks. The new agreement includes deep collaboration on artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, energy independence, and academic freedom. Yes, even students and researchers persecuted for political reasons will now have safe entry channels into Canada and Europe. Why would they need that? Because under the Trump regime, dissent, even a meme, can get you deported. Let's talk about that. A 21-year-old Norwegian tourist was recently detained and deported after U.S. Customs agents found a satirical meme of Vice President J.D. Vance on his phone. That's right, a meme. The Department of Homeland Security later tried to spin the story, claiming it was due to drug use, but few believe it. The Guardian and other respected sources confirmed the meme was the issue. This is not a one-off. According to internal CBP documents, visa applicants are now required to unlock all social media accounts, private messages included, for review. If anything anti-Trump is found, entry can be denied. This is what authoritarianism looks like in the digital age, where your Facebook likes become grounds for deportation. Canada is saying enough. And so is Europe. In a joint declaration, Carney and von der Leyen explicitly stated their goal: to create an academic, scientific, and technological refuge for those persecuted for their political beliefs. It's a direct slap to Washington's tightening grip on free expression. But the consequences go beyond ideology. Since the EU-Canada trade agreement (CETA) came into force, bilateral trade has grown by over 71%, from €72 billion in 2016 to more than €123 billion in 2023. That means less money flowing to US businesses, and more going to Europe. With this new strategic alignment, expect Canadian oil and gas to start flowing eastward, disrupting US dominance over European energy markets. Now think bigger. What does it mean when Canada no longer trusts the US with its skies, its data, its energy security? What happens when the most stable democracy in the Americas decides to pivot away from Washington and toward Brussels? This isn't just a diplomatic snub, it's a realignment. It's the creation of a new Western pillar that doesn't run through the White House. And if Trump continues his erratic authoritarian behavior, more countries will follow. Let's not forget, while Canada and Europe were signing a pact for peace, Trump was jailing people over memes, launching missiles without warning, and demanding obedience while offering none in return. He's turning the United States into an unpredictable actor on the global stage, and allies are choosing not to wait around for the next disaster. Interactive question. Could Trump's foreign policy actually drive more allies away from the US? Is this Canada-EU pact just the first domino? Let's connect the dots. Canada is cutting military dependence on the US. Canada is ramping up trade with Europe. Canada is joining European military procurement systems. Canada is preparing evacuation pathways for political refugees. Canada is publicly declaring a value alignment with Europe, not the United States. This is a breakup, and it's not subtle. In Brussels, they didn't even mention the United States in the final statements. Think about that. In a post-WWII world, built on the US-led liberal order, a key Western nation just shifted its axis, and didn't even bother to inform Washington. The silence is deafening. So here's the big question. Is the West being redefined without America? What we're witnessing is the slow-motion collapse of the old transatlantic order. And as Trump's regime becomes more erratic, more isolationist and more repressive, allies are quietly, but decisively, moving on. Canada is leading that exodus. And unless something changes, it won't be the last to leave. If you found this analysis important, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Help us expose the shifts in global power that mainstream media won't show you. Stay informed, stay critical, and stay one step ahead.